Hey, Happy New Year. Happy 2022. How many of you are not a fan of New Year's resolutions? Who is these days? But how many of you have declared that 2022 is the year that your children's education is a priority? You know that things need to change, that things aren't always going well. Maybe you feel like you're struggling, but you're not sure where to turn, who to ask, uh, just where to share your struggles. Is that you? You're going to enjoy today's conversation. I'm going to be sharing the one resolution, just one, that will ensure a more joyful education environment for you and for your children. When I went searching for about New Year's resolutions, my suspicions were confirmed. It says that of those who make New Year's resolutions, after 1 week, so by today, 25% of those New Year's resolutions, those people who have resolved to make changes in their life, have dropped off. After 6 months, more than half of them are not successful with their New Year's resolution. And the failure rate of New Year's resolution is said to be about 80%. The biggest reason people drop their New Year's resolutions, they admit, is because of lack of self-control, followed by, it just slipped my mind, laziness or forgetfulness. We just forget that we made New Year's resolutions. As you're joining onto our Facebook Live here, I would love to hear from you. Just send me a quick comment. Let me know that you're out there. Share maybe some of your New Year's resolutions, some of those things, questions that you may have. My name is Diana Rolston, and I want to welcome you to Spark Homeschool Parent. Each week, I bring you strategies to ignite the spark that engages your child's learning. And this Spark Homeschool Parent is a supportive and encouraging environment for homeschool parents. So I want to welcome you. Yeah, as you're coming on, as you're watching, and even when you're watching the replay, introduce yourself to the group. Send a quick comment. I'd love to hear from you. Whether you are just thinking about homeschooling, searching the different options, seeing what's out there, or you've been homeschooling for many years, and you're just looking for new ideas, new sparks, I want to welcome you. This conversation today is specifically for you, and you're going to enjoy it if you are not a fan of New Year's resolutions, but you have declared that 2022 is the year where your child's education is a priority. But you look around and you just don't have that supportive, encouraging community that you can ask questions. Where do I go from here? You just don't have anybody that you can share the struggles that you're experiencing. Again, this is Spark Homeschool Parent, and I'm Diana Rolston. Today's conversation is just that one resolution, just one, that will ensure a more joyful education environment for you and for your children. I have 3 boys that I homeschooled through graduation. They are all working now. But when we were young, we were out a lot. There's so many opportunities for our children to learn outside of the house. So we took full advantage, whether we were in the woods or at the park, so many things to learn at the park and socializing. And I know that looks different now, but even if it's just being at the park with their siblings or getting together with that one family. Also, being in Ottawa, we have lots of museums, and when my kids were young, we were out and taking advantage of the museums, co-ops, getting together in small groups. I looked around and it seemed like those other homeschool families were doing it all right. They all looked happy. Their kids were learning. They all looked like they were getting along with each other. And I was struggling, but I didn't know who to turn to. I couldn't ask. I felt like I couldn't ask those other moms that were at the park. They wouldn't understand me. It looks like they had it all together, and I just didn't want to admit that I was struggling, that things weren't as they appeared. When we came home into the school environment, started learning, although there was so much learning going on while we were out. But when we came back into the home, it was a struggle. There was frustration and tension and often tears, yelling, but I didn't know who to turn to, so I kept it to myself. I became lonely. I posted a quote on the Facebook group that says, "Loneliness does not come from having no people around you, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to you." Is that you? I had lots of people around me, but I just couldn't communicate the things that were important to me. Homeschooling my children is extremely important to me. The struggles that we were experiencing day after day after day, that's what I needed to talk to somebody about. But I didn't have anybody. I didn't feel like I had anybody to share that with. So I felt very lonely, very much alone. Maybe that's how you're feeling. They say that loneliness significantly affects our physical and our mental health in many different ways. It hinders our sleep. We need our sleep. Our sleep is precious. But when we're lonely, we find it hard to fall asleep, hard to stay asleep. Loneliness, they say, impacts memory, making it challenging to focus on tasks. As homeschoolers, we have so many tasks throughout the day. We need to be able to focus. It has an impact on our decision making. Again, so many decisions to make for ourselves, for our children, for our family. And when we're feeling alone, that ability to make decisions and to think clearly is negatively impacted. Loneliness also increases pain and muscle tension. I don't know if you're like me, but when I'm feeling pain, I'm grumpy. And that mood goes throughout the house. However I'm feeling has a huge effect on what the rest of the family is feeling and the learning environment that is created in our house based on how I feel. It says that lonely people might also find that they get sick more often. Studies show a strong link between loneliness and suppression of immune system, especially, excuse me, especially at times like this. We need to have a strong immune system. We need to have strong and healthy bodies and minds. So let me propose that one New Year's resolution this year. Connect. Connect in a supportive and encouraging environment, whether it's just one person. It doesn't have to be another homeschool parent. Maybe it's your parent. Maybe it's a neighbor. Maybe it's a friend that you have that knows you, knows your children, might not even know them. And that doesn't matter either. Just somebody who supports you and your choice to homeschool and is there to encourage you. Maybe it's a small group of other homeschool parents that you can get together regularly and share openly and honestly. And that group providing support and encouragement. Or maybe it's a bigger community. again, where you can be open, sharing struggles that you and fears and frustrations that you have. It says that when you connect with a loving community of friends, you will be better able to cope with things like fatigue. We're all tired. Maybe you have children who are up late at night that you want to connect with, or maybe at the same time of young children that are up so early in the morning or still getting up throughout the night. We're tired. As parents, we're tired. As homeschool parents, we're tired also. But when we're part of a community, we can better cope with our fatigue. We can also better cope with fears. There are a lot of fears that we as homeschool parents have. Fears of limiting the future opportunities of our children. As someone who's finished homeschooling my children, I can tell you that is completely unfounded. Homeschooling does not limit future opportunities, and fears that we have as homeschooling parents. This is a topic that I'm going to talk more and more about. But when we're part of a community, it helps us cope with our fears. Maybe you have fears that you're creating gaps in your children's learning. Again, as a parent who has children who have graduated from homeschooling, who didn't go to public school. Sure, we all have gaps in our education, but as homeschooled children, they know where to bridge those gaps, how to find that information that they're missing. And how many of us have the fear of not being the best teacher for our children? Again, unfounded, but when you're alone, those fears grow. When we're part of a community, or just that one person that we can talk honestly with, that we can connect with, it helps us cope with those fears. Connecting with community also helps cope with frustration. That's the third: fatigue, fear, frustration. There's a lot of frustration throughout the day of homeschooling. We can all admit that. And the fourth thing, being part of a encouraging, supportive community helps us cope with failure. That's life. We all have failures, big failures, small, but being part of a community helps us cope with that. When we're part of a community, you will find that you are not alone. And that just the thought of that brings joy. And again, the way that we feel those frustrations, we bring that into our home. If we're feeling joy, that sets the tone for the environment that we're creating for our children and their learning. So think of the word support, strength, someone holding you up, strong, supporting you when you're under stress. That's what support is. That's what we're looking for when I'm saying connect and be supported. You will feel healing and comfort. Again, what joy that brings. You'll find that you're not unique, that the frustrations and fears and struggles that you have are shared by many, many homeschoolers. That by not connecting, I just didn't get a chance to realize that. And those burdens are lifted. Again, bringing joy. Some of you are thinking, yeah, fine for you to say I need to open up and be honest and share all my struggles with someone. I tried that before and it backfired. I'm just not going to do it anymore. Fair enough. There's a lot of people that can relate to that statement. But I'm going to just suggest that there are 4 rules, 4 things that need to be set out before we commit to these relationships where we open up. The first is to be honest. Be honest with yourself. Be honest with each other. Be honest with yourself and admit to yourself that you have struggles. Don't just continue on and think that things are going to change. Be honest with yourself. Admit to yourself that things aren't going well, that you're struggling, and be honest with this group or person that you're sharing with. You're going to find that you're not alone. The second thing, listen to each other. Like, really listen to each other. Stephen Covey says most people do not listen with the intent to understand. They listen with the intent to reply. Isn't that so true? We listen, waiting to jump in. Let's just set that straight and set that as a rule. We're not listening to each other to reply, to help. Well, we are to help, but we're resist that temptation to jump in and reply. Just listen with the intention of understanding each other. The third rule that we need to commit to is to be patient with each other. It's hard to be patient. I know it is. But we need to have that patience and grace that we so appreciate from each other. Provide that for each other. And the fourth, encourage each other. Resist the temptation to fix each other's situation, but instead pray for and encourage each other where we are right now. Be honest with yourself and with each other. Listen to each other. Be patient with each other and encourage each other. Those are so important when we are sharing and connecting deeply with each other. I would love it if together we could declare that 2022 is the year that our children's education is a priority, that you're a priority, the year that you will seek a supportive community that will bring you joy, that will bring you encouragement and support. A supportive community where you can admit your weaknesses, you can admit your struggles, share your mistakes, because that's mood, that attitude that we have ripples throughout our house and is present in that learning environment with our children. When we are full of joy, it creates a joyful environment, learning environment for our children. Model that joy and create that joy-filled environment in your home education environment. Remember, there's just one resolution that will ensure this, and I ask you to connect with each other this year. Find that one person, find that small group, find that community where you could be honest with each other and share the struggles of homeschooling. It's not easy. This is Spark, homeschool parent. I hope this has been helpful for you, and I'd love to hear your comments. Our commitment is to equip you with the skills and the mindset to navigate this ever-changing homeschool journey, to provide you with a supportive and encouraging community. If you're looking for that community, join us if you haven't already at Spark Homeschool Parent. It's a Facebook group and everybody is welcome. And also join me. I'm here every Friday, 1 p.m. or listen to the recordings. Next week, next Friday at 1 p.m., I have the opportunity to interview a good friend of mine while we were homeschooling, or we did homeschool together. She's also has children who have graduated from homeschooling, and we're going to be reflecting back at our years of homeschooling, because reflection is the theme of this month. That's the R in Spark, if you haven't caught on. So join me next Friday. I'm going to be having a conversation with Rachel Halderson. Many of you know her. So I look forward to that. I'm also really excited about an upcoming webinar. So keep an eye out for that. How to educate joyful children with a spark for learning. I'm going to be doing that on February the 12th at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And take a look at that Facebook group, Spark Homeschool Parents. That's where I'm going to be sending out some information. So I'd love to see you there also. That's February the 12th. Until next week.